Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Roberto Corona. I am an Italian anthroposopher and astrologer, and in this video we'll talk about the next full moon in Scorpio of April 24, a full moon which brings into manifestation the potential expressed by the previous new moon. And the previous new moon was an eclipse, the solar eclipse of April 8. For this reason, as we're going to see, this moon still brings to the table some challenges. Now, as you can see here from this picture, with this moon, we officially enter Taurus, and Taurus is the heart, the center of the spring season. Taurus, which, as we know, still features the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. So let's take a look at the chart. Now, we don't have many variations, only one compared to the sky of the eclipse. This variation is the sun, which is here on April 18, the sun entered Taurus. But the other planets, they are pretty much configured almost in the same way, I have to say. Now, this lunation is quite peculiar in terms of festivals because this moon takes us towards Beltane, May 1st, which is a pagan festival connected to the four elements. But we have also, from a Christian perspective, this connection with the elements because this moon leads us towards ascension, which this year falls on May 9, the day after the next new moon in Taurus on May 8. And Ascension is a festival that, according to anthroposophy, represents the salvific union of the Christ with the etheric body, the life body of the earth, which is represented in the image of Ascension by the image of the clouds in the sky. And according to anthroposophy, the clouds in the sky are a metaphor indicating the etheric world. Now, for this reason, this moon invites us to reconnect with nature, with the four elements, with the etheric body of the earth, to which Christ himself connected. And in fact, for the Celts, the Christ, after the event of Golgotha, was called the Lord of the Elements. So this moon is leading us towards nature again and towards the God walking through the etheric field, so to speak. Now, this is a full moon, and as such, it represents a peak of the manifestation of the etheric forces. So again, this moon represents the full manifestation of the process started with the eclipse. And the full moon is always a moment of retrospect, of reviewing the past as the light is shed in the darkness of the night. This is the image of the full moon in the night sky. And with this chart, this is especially true because we have a full moon in Scorpio. And Scorpio is the very zodiac sign of hidden mysteries, of unveiling the mysteries. This means that this is a time for awareness, but also revelations that can liberate us, helping us releasing or purifying our subtle bodies as we move towards the next new moon in Taurus, which is going to happen on May 8. And by the way, this new moon will feature a stellium in Taurus, as we will see in the next video. So the full moon is here, located at 4 degrees, 18 minutes Scorpio, in the starry image of the Virgin. Specifically, as you can see, the moon is on the feet of the Virgin. Now, this is a very important symbology because, as we know, the feet of the Virgin are connected to the serpent, right? So we have the image of Eve threatening to harm the head of the serpent with her heel the serpent represented by what? By the zodiac sign of Scorpio. So we have the serpent scorpion and the starry image in the heavens of the Virgin, with the region of the feet which nowadays overlap with the zodiac sign of Scorpio. Now, of course, the sun is at the opposite degree, being this a full moon. So we have the sun at 4 degrees, 18 minutes Taurus, unfortunately sitting on a quite malefic star in the constellation of Aries called Sheratan. Now, Sheratan comes with the nature of the two malefic planets, which are Saturn and Mars. And it is malefic because it is associated with destruction through the elements. Now, as you can see, we have again the elements here, but in their malefic or rough manifestation. Also note that the sun and moon are closed in a T-square configuration by our friend, so to speak, Pluto, at 2 degrees 05 Aquarius. So this means that Pluto is less than 2 degrees from the luminaries in terms of degrees, creating this great tension in the sky. And on top of that, being the full moon in Scorpio, this means that the moon is ruled by the ruler of Scorpio, which is the planet Mars, the god of war. Now, where's Mars? Mars is here. It is located at 24 degrees Pisces and 51 minutes. And as you can see, Mars is in conjunction with Neptune. Now, Mars is now moving away from Saturn. So this is, I would say, a wide and separating conjunction, meaning that it is a weak conjunction between Mars and Saturn. However, since these two planets, Saturn and Mars, belong to the nature of the star Sheratan, this means that the effect of this conjunction is still there. It is still affecting the chart. However, Mars is definitely moving towards Neptune, so we're mainly going to consider the Mars-Neptune conjunction. Also note that the chart features an almost completely stationing Mercury. Now, this is the chart for April 24, and Mercury is turning direct again on April 25. So this Mercury here is basically stationing. So it's not moving, it's there standing still in the sky. And on top of that, it is sitting on, as you can see, the north lunar node, Caput Draconis, the head of the dragon. Now, we have already discussed about this Mercury, so I'll leave the link to the video in the description box. However, we can definitely take that into account, like trying to describing the overall meanings of the chart. So not only this chart features a stationing Mercury, but we also have this, and we know what this is, right? This is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. And as you can see, it is still very narrow in the chart. So the two are less than 1 degree apart. And this is because the conjunction have perfected on April 21st. So they are still in a very close conjunction. And on top of that, as you can see, Jupiter and Uranus are making a sextile with Mars, the lord of the eclipse. So they are definitely affecting the chart by affecting the ruler of the moon. So let's talk about the meaning of the chart. As always, we start from the meanings from a physical perspective. And in this chart, the Taurus-Scorpio axis is activated, right? And this triggers issues related to mainly two things. One, natural resources, and two, economic resources, so the economy. So in terms of natural resources, we are referring to here especially to underground resources, such as mineral resources, oil resources, and so on. Now, when it comes to the economy, we are specifically talking about the financial world, finance, the stock market, investments, and so on. Now, the full moon in Scorpio is a moon investigating secrets, revealing secrets and mysteries, intrigues, and so on, because the full moon is full of light, meaning that it is shedding light into the darkness, right? And in this sense, it leads clarity, revelations in these fields. So again, natural resources and economic resources, finance. And such revelations, they involve a good deal of chaos, I would say. And why is that? Because Mars, again, Mars is the lord of this moon, is in Pisces, which is a quite chaotic zodiac sign. But it is also in conjunction with Neptune, which is the planet of creative chaos. And as we know, Neptune usually brings chaos, at least on a material level. Now, on top of that, Mars, again, is also making a sextile aspect with Jupiter and Uranus. And this means it could also activate protests, riots, revolution that are destabilizing. And so this social movement of protests is also confirmed by the main tension of the chart. So we saw that. We are referring to this. This is the T-square closed by the planet Pluto. And for this reason, these economic issues that may emerge, they could become quite easily a movement of protests that could have a collective repercussions, because Pluto is a collective planet. So this means that these protests could concern large banking or financial investment groups, and people could start like protesting against social injustice, basically. Now, also remember that Mercury is retrograde, or it is stationing. So it is here standing still in the sky. And for this reason, we can talk about scandals leading to social conflict, being Mercury, the planet of communication in Aries, a very fiery and warrior sign, right? So this is important because we don't have the planet of communication helping us out in a chart that is already full of tension. Now, lastly, given that the star Sharatan is associated with destruction through the elements, from a physical point of view, we can extend the danger for accidents and also earthquakes. We had a couple of very big earthquakes, right? Which were indicated by the eclipse. So we can extend that period of time. And on top of that, being Mars, Lord of the eclipse in Pisces, which is a water sign, in conjunction with Neptune, the god of the seas, this means that we cannot exclude tsunamis from the possible interpretations of these symbols, which both refer to water and the sea, right? Now, moving on from the soul perspective, the full moon in Scorpio investigates the human psyche, right? And this could involve intrigues or lies that are brought to the surface in our friendships, in our relationships. Remember that Mercury is still retrograde. But this could also refer to psychological dynamics that have to do with us, with our personal shadows that we need to process. So this means that from a soul perspective, we can interpret this Mars differently. Mars in Pisces, in this specific case, can become a spiritual warrior who has the courage to investigate the soul and its shadow, not only on a personal level, so personal shadows, but also collective shadows, since Neptune is involved, and Neptune is a generational planet, and it describes dynamics that are affecting the collective unconscious. So with collective, very simply, I also mean shadows involving, for example, our family members, any group that we belong, okay? So in this particular case, Mercury retrograde can be favorable. Why is that? Because Mercury retrograde is literally the cosmic mind turning inwardly, dealing with internal issues. So it is favorable to shadow work, right? Especially being this Mercury in Aries, to process the emotion of Mars. The emotion of Mars, the emotion of Aries is anger. So this is favorable. So it is interesting noticing how externally Mercury retrograde is definitely unfavorable, but it can become an ally, like working within. So in this regard, any external conflict, they can become internal opportunities to shed light on our soul and the soul of other people. Now, another important signification of this Mars in Pisces, which I really like, is being this Mars in conjunction with Neptune, it can become an opportunity to express, being Mars a planet of expression, express emotionally these shadows, but also this shadow work that we are undertaking. We can take that, express that, and sublimate that through art. Now, art is a wonderful ally when it comes to our journey through healing and processing our shadows, and we can liberate our soul, expressing ourselves through emotions and through art, which is always a wonderful way to do shadow work. Now, when it comes to the spirit, from a spiritual perspective, the full moon, again, it is here shining in the starry image of the Virgin. So we can contemplate here in the sky the image of the woman clothed with the sun of the apocalypse, with at her feet the serpent, yes, but in this case it is the dragon with the 7 heads and 10 horns. So, of course, the dragon is represented in this case by the first degrees of Scorpio overlapping with the feet of the Virgin. And in this case, what's interesting is that the full moon, which is a feminine archetype, is full, meaning that it is literally clothed in the sunlight, right? So we have here the image of the divine feminine fighting the forces of the dragon, and she is helping us to overcome these energies, the energies of the dragon, which are the energies of the eclipse. Why are the energies of the eclipse? Because we know that eclipses, they happen on the south node, north node, and they are the head and tail of the dragon. So they represent the dragon forces. The eclipse is the dragon energy, like devouring the sun and moon, right? So we have the full moon here, which is the manifestation of the forces that begins with the new moon. The new moon was the eclipse. We have the full manifestation, the peak of dragon forces here, but we have the image of the Virgin, of the divine feminine, helping us overcoming it, right? Now, on top of that, in astrosophy in particular, the Virgin, Virgo, represents the manifestation within humanity of the Father Principle. Now, the Father Principle, we can find that in the image of Pisces, but in the opposite image of the Virgin, we find the manifestation within humanity of the Father Principle. And in particular, the way it manifests is through the gesture of the Virgin, saying, I am the servant of the Lord. And this means that we can place ourselves at service of the spiritual world, of the world of the Father, through this fighting against the dragon, fighting these eclipse energies through the forces of Mars in Pisces, which, as we said, can become the archetype of our spiritual inner warrior. As always, thanks for watching. If you want to support my work, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell not to miss out on future astrological insights. I am Roberto Corona. See you in the next video.